By the 1990s, paranoia had gone mainstream. The Cold War was over, but the anxieties it created found new targets. Technology was emerging, promising to connect everyone while making privacy a thing of the past. These movies assumed your identity could be erased with a few keystrokes, that intelligence agencies were recording everything, and that corporations would bury bodies to protect their bottom line. Turns out, they were right. 1998's Enemy of the State sees Will Smith as a DC labor lawyer whose life gets destroyed when a college acquaintance unknowingly slips him a disc containing video evidence of a political assassination ordered by a rogue NSA official. The NSA focuses its full surveillance apparatus on him, destroying his career, freezing his assets, fabricating evidence, all to recover the tape. His only hope is Brill, a paranoid former NSA communications expert living completely off the grid, played by the late great Gene Hackman. Tony Scott directed with his signature kinetic energy, and the Hackman casting was deliberate. Brill is a reclusive surveillance expert, which directly echoes his role as Harry Call in 1974's The Conversation. The connection isn't subtle at all. What makes this film remarkable is how much of it came true. The central MacGuffin is legislation expanding NSA surveillance powers, and 3 years later, the Patriot Act did essentially what the fictional bill proposed. The film depicted keyword-triggered automated phone monitoring. Edward Snowden revealed in 2013 that this was exactly what the NSA was doing. The film's core premise, that government agencies possess the technology to destroy anyone's life while operating beyond accountability, was dismissed as Hollywood paranoia in 1998. Now it looks like an understatement. Michael Mann directed 1999's The Insider with the same meticulous intensity he brought to 95's Heat. No car chases or gunfights here. He makes people talking on phones as tense as any action sequence. A former vice president of research and development at Brown and Williamson Tobacco gets coaxed toward going public with what he knows about the industry's deliberate manipulation of nicotine addiction.
And Jeffrey Wigand, who's out on a limb, does he go on television and tell the truth? Yes. Is it newsworthy? Yes.
Russell Crowe plays Dr. Jeffrey Wigand, and Al Pacino plays CBS 60 Minutes producer Lowell Bergman, the man who convinces him to talk. What neither of them expected was that both would end up trapped between corporate power, legal threats, and the cowardice of the very news organization that was supposed to tell the story. The screenplay, co-written with Eric Roth, came from Marie Brenner's Vanity Fair article about the real Wigand case. 7 tobacco CEOs testified before Congress under oath in 1994 that nicotine was not addictive, and Wigand knew this was a lie. CBS prepared to air his interview on 60 Minutes when the network killed the segment. The interview finally aired months later, only after the Wall Street Journal broke the story first. The film was nominated for 7 Academy Awards and won none of them. It struggled at the box office, but the reputation has only grown since. It suggests that telling the truth is never simple, that even the institutions designed to expose corruption can be corrupted themselves, and that doing the right thing might cost you everything. Tom Cruise is a brilliant young Harvard Law graduate who accepts a lavish offer from a small, prestigious Memphis tax firm in the 1990s. The firm. They pay off his student loans, give him a house, and hand him the keys to a Mercedes. But when associates start dying and the FBI comes calling, he discovers he's trapped between a mob-connected employer that kills anyone who tries to leave and a government agency that will destroy him if he doesn't cooperate. Sidney Pollack directed the story based on the John Grisham novel. Paramount bought the rights before the book was even published, based on bootleg copies that had been passed around Hollywood without Grisham's knowledge. That sale triggered a bidding war among book publishers, and within weeks of publication it hit the bestseller list, where it stayed for 47 weeks. Grisham quit practicing law and never looked back. $270 million worldwide made The Firm the highest-grossing John Grisham adaptation ever. It was also the highest-grossing R-rated film of 1993 and kicked off a decade-long boom in Grisham adaptations. Jean Tripplehorn, Ed Harris, Gene Hackman, and Holly Hunter round out the cast, with Hunter earning an Oscar nomination for her supporting role. The film captures a very specific 90s anxiety, that success can be a trap, that the American dream comes with hidden contracts, and that the institutions promising to help you might be the ones most invested in your destruction. Sandra Bullock plays a freelance computer analyst who works from home, orders pizza online, and socializes exclusively through chat rooms in 1995's The Net.
2 months ago, I saw a provocative movie on cable TV. It was called The Net, with that girl from the bus.
When she receives a floppy disk from a colleague containing a backdoor into classified databases, she becomes the target of a shadowy organization. She returns home to discover her entire identity has been erased. Social security number reassigned, house sold, credit cards canceled, and a criminal record created in her name. She doesn't exist anymore, at least not as herself. Irwin Winkler directed, the legendary producer of Rocky, Raging Bull, and Goodfellas, making only his third film as director. The script came from John Brancato and Michael Ferris, the same team who wrote Would Write the Game 2 years later. They conceived the story around identity theft, a concept so new at the time that Brancato recalled only one book had been published about it. Angela Bennett's digital alienation has become universal. We all bank, shop, work, and socialize without seeing another human being in person. The premise that a security company might secretly create the threats it claims to solve has become a standard concern about the cybersecurity industry, and while it feels outdated by today's tech standards, identity theft has become one of the most common crimes in the digital era. A film dismissed as a B-movie techno-thriller now looks like an early documentary about the world we live in. We are all Angela Bennett now. In 1997's The Game, a fabulously wealthy, emotionally remote San Francisco investment banker, played by Michael Douglas, approaches his 48th birthday, the same age his father was when he committed suicide by jumping off the family mansion roof. His estranged brother Conrad, played by Sean Penn, gives him a birthday voucher for a personalized experience from a mysterious company called Consumer Recreation Services. And that's when the game begins infiltrating every aspect of his life, blurring the line between reality and elaborate manipulation. David Fincher directed, sandwiched between Seven and Fight Club. San Francisco was essential to Fincher despite studio pressure to film in cheaper locations, and he insisted the city's old-money atmosphere couldn't be replicated. Solid reviews came in, but the game got somewhat lost between Fincher's more celebrated films. He later expressed dissatisfaction with the ending, feeling it was too safe and lacked the devastating punch of Seven's climax. The film has been significantly reappraised over time. It's now in the Criterion Collection, frequently cited as Fincher's secret masterpiece, and credited as a precursor to The Truman Show, The Matrix, and Inception. The premise, that a company could use your own psychological data against you in an elaborate manipulation, felt like science fiction in 1997. Now, it sounds like every app on your phone. Mel Gibson plays a New York City taxi driver who lectures his passengers on elaborate government conspiracies in 1997's Conspiracy Theory. He is obsessively fixated on Justice Department attorney Alice Sutton, played by Julia Roberts, a woman he once saved from a mugging. When Jerry is suddenly abducted and tortured by a sinister CIA psychiatrist, played by Patrick Stewart, it becomes clear that one of his many wild theories has accidentally hit upon something real. The problem is that neither he nor Alice knows which one. Richard Donner directed, reuniting with Gibson after the Lethal Weapon trilogy and Maverick. The original screenplay came from Brian Helgeland, who in the 1998 awards weekend won the Golden Raspberry for Worst Screenplay for The Postman on Saturday and the Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay for LA Confidential on Sunday. He requested the Razzie and kept both trophies on his mantle. The film's central mechanism, Patrick Stewart running an unauthorized continuation of the CIA's MK-Ultra mind control program, is grounded in verified historical fact. MK-Ultra was active from 1953 to 1973, involving illegal experiments using LSD, electroshock, sensory deprivation, and psychological torture. Critics praised Gibson's committed performance, and the film has developed a modest cult following in the years since. A character dismissed as mentally ill in 1997 now sounds like he's been reading the news. 1993's The Pelican Brief sees Julia Roberts as Darby Shaw, a Tulane law student writing a speculative brief that connects the assassination of two Supreme Court justices to an oil tycoon trying to drill on protected Louisiana marshland. And that's when people who read her theory start dying. Denzel Washington plays the Washington Herald reporter she teams up with to expose a conspiracy that reaches the White House. Written and directed by Alan J. Pakula, and based on the novel by John Grisham, and there was no one better suited for this material. The 1970s belonged to Pakula when it came to paranoia thrillers, essentially inventing the genre. Directing films like Clute, The Parallax View, and All the President's Men. 8 different actors earned Oscar nominations under his direction, and The Pelican Brief became his highest-grossing film ever. John Grisham wrote Darby Shaw with Julia Roberts in mind, and she signed on without seeing a script. Roberts then personally requested Denzel Washington for the reporter role, a character who is white in the novel, and the studio agreed. The film crossed $195 million worldwide and became the first Denzel Washington movie to break $100 million domestically. It's built around the fear that powerful interests can manipulate the highest court in the land, that a wealthy donor's access matters more than the law, and that the truth can get you killed faster than it can set you free. 3 decades later, those fears haven't exactly gone away. Nicolas Cage does Nicolas Cage things in 1998's Snake Eyes. He plays a flamboyant, corrupt Atlantic City police detective who attends a heavyweight boxing match at the Millennium Casino. He's there thanks to his childhood best friend Kevin Dunn, a Navy commander played by Gary Sinise, escorting the Secretary of Defense. When the Secretary is assassinated mid-match, Santoro locks down the arena with 14,000 fans inside and begins investigating, only to discover a conspiracy involving the military-industrial complex, rigged missile tests, and people he trusted most. Brian De Palma directed from a script by David Koepp, based on their shared story. De Palma deployed all his signature techniques, including split screens, overhead tracking shots, voyeuristic camera work, and Rashomon-style multiple perspectives. The centerpiece of the film is a virtuoso opening shot, a continuous take covering the entire pre-assassination setup. The camera follows Cage as he navigates backstage corridors before taking his seat at ringside and talking virtually non-stop the entire time. Even critics who disliked the film praised the sequence. It received mixed reviews and underperformed at the box office. De Palma responded to critics who objected to revealing the villain early by explaining it was never about who did it, but about a relationship. De Palma's paranoid vision, that powerful institutions stage violence and manipulate perception while ordinary people watch helplessly, continues to resonate. Tom Cruise plays a young Navy lawyer, famous for negotiating plea bargains and avoiding trial, in 1992's A Few Good Men. He's assigned to defend 2 Marines charged with the murder of a fellow Marine at Guantanamo Bay. His co-counsel, played by Demi Moore, suspects the hazing was ordered by a superior officer. She pushes to pursue the chain of command all the way to the base commander, Colonel Nathan Jessup, played by Jack Nicholson. The late great Rob Reiner directed from a screenplay by Aaron Sorkin, adapting Sorkin's own Broadway play. Sorkin's sister Deborah, a Navy JAG lawyer, called to tell him she was being sent to Guantanamo to defend Marines who had nearly killed a fellow Marine in a hazing ordered by a superior. Sorkin was working as a bartender at the Palace Theater at the time. During the first act, when bartenders had nothing to do, he wrote much of the play on cocktail napkins. It opened in 1989 and ran for nearly 500 performances. 4 Academy Award nominations came in, including Best Picture. The film launched Sorkin's career, leading to The American President and eventually The West Wing. It captures something essential about institutional corruption, the way systems protect themselves at the expense of individuals, and the seductive lie that order requires brutality. The truth Jessup can't handle isn't that his methods are wrong, it's that they're unnecessary.